to keep oneself diligently engaged with wholesome activity, lest the straying mind comes to dwell in greed, aversion, and delusion. The fourth technique I call reconstructing, by which I mean analyzing the formation of the unskillful thought. In reflecting on results, we contemplate the forward trajectory of an unwholesome thought, considering its consequences for the future. With reconstructing, on the other hand, we move in the opposite direction to examine the antecedents that had given rise to the unwholesome notion in the first place. Since the mind is a conditioned phenomenon, distracting thoughts are predicated on previous thoughts. It's possible, then, carefully to explore the deeper roots of unskillful thinking. Let's say I'm having unkind thoughts about another person. I recognize these thoughts as unwholesome. With a bit of honest reflection, I'm able to acknowledge that those unkind thoughts emerge out of strong feelings of envy. Pursuing this insight further, I notice that my envy derives from a very barely perceptible sense of personal inadequacy, which has led me to crave something that the person I envy has. I might want her intelligence, success, good looks, or her fancy sports car, because I believe that I too should have those things. Now, having gotten to this point in our reconstruction, we can begin to examine the assumptions supporting this belief. What's the great benefit in owning a sports car? Will it really make me happier? Or is it possible that a sports car might actually bring me unhappiness? Or why do I want an intelligence like hers? What do I believe that I'm lacking that would lead me to want something other than what I have? Is there a way to improve my intelligence without developing an envy that leads to unkind thoughts about this person whom I otherwise like? Is it possible for me simply to appreciate her intelligence, knowing that I have other equally valuable gifts? Taking our reconstruction of negative thinking down to this level allows us to see how unwholesome thoughts can be rooted in untenable assumptions that we make about the things that will make us happy. And it allows us to examine those assumptions more rationally. Such a process is often effective in rendering the thought totally harmless. When we've analyzed the root causes of envy enough times, we come to recognize a particular pattern of unskillful thinking that most of us routinely practice. It's a manner of thought strongly encouraged by our competitive culture. The mindfulness tradition calls it comparing mind. Comparing mind is that insidious habit of seeing how we measure up to other people. You know what I'm talking about. We expend a lot of mental energy engaged with it. Our culture is obsessed with it, and in a sense thrives on it. Comparing mind carries with it a host of negative side effects. Its foremost disadvantage is the unnecessary suffering it causes. Envy is a nasty emotion. It makes us feel just plain yucky. I have no better word for it. The English philosopher and mathematician Bertrand Russell called envy one of the most powerful causes of human unhappiness. Furthermore, we not only feel bad about ourselves, we often begin to wish ill upon the person we envy. sometimes to the point where we take steps to realize those wishes. You may remember the stepmother of a girl called Snow White. Even if we stop short of reaching for the poisoned apples, the mind puts itself through mental gymnastics to rid itself of all that yuck. She may be prettier than me, but my children are smarter than hers. I could be as successful as she is if I were willing to compromise my integrity. Or, to cite my own personal trump card, at least I have a Harvard PhD. So there. Whether we judge ourselves favorably or unfavorably, the practice of comparing mind is unwholesome. It causes us harm, expends our precious mental energy, and erodes our relationships with others. Although it is generally unskillful, there are times when comparing mind can be used skillfully, but doing so is an advanced practice and requires great wisdom. For most of us, however, certainly in the early stages of mindfulness practice, it is a habit that is best acknowledged and then relinquished. We may not be able to control particular thoughts, but we can influence the conditioned mind that gives rise to particular thoughts. We can prepare a fertile mental soil that increases the likelihood of germinating wholesome skills.